good evening, everybody. Welcome tonight to our first of 5 Wednesdays in Lent, where we will come together around stories. It's story time, as the sign says. Story time. You'll remember that the title of our devotional booklet is A Story to Tell. A Story to Tell. And every one of us, friends, has a story. Everybody has a story. And in a prayerful, sort of random fashion, I'm inviting someone from each congregation on these Wednesday nights to tell their story. And tonight you're going to hear from Karen and Jay Anderson, who are members of Faith Lutheran. And then you're going to hear from Paula Cardoza Jones and Rex Jones, who are members of St. Andrews. Some of you may know Paula from Friendship Bible Study and Rex. And Pastor Rex will be substituting this Sunday. I'll be doing Holy Communion separately on a video because I'll be recovering from surgery. And so in any case, they're going to share their story tonight, and we are going to hear a few words about our devotional we'll share. And it's good to have all of you back together today. Does anybody recognize themselves in this group? All of these people have stayed, how do you do this, since last Wednesday. Look at them all with their crosses on their foreheads. This is the Ash Wednesday congregation that stayed. You might recognize, where am I? How do I do this? This guy, right? I am the church, you are the church from a previous message, but they're here gathered around for story time. So let's get our service started. We're going to hear Glory of These 40 Days, the hymn that's a beautiful Lenten hymn to get our minds set. And I'll be right back with you after the hymn. That's a beautiful hymn and helps us get ourselves, mind, body, and spirit into the Lenten journey. Now, friends, listen to the stories of our two families from Faith Lutheran and St. Andrews. Enjoy.
Okay, it says recording.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Karen.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here to tell you our story. So, well, we both grew up in Madison, South Dakota.
Good.
But we weren't high school sweethearts. We started dating in college.
Yes, we did.
Our first date was a Jeep ride
Yep.
around the lake.
Yep.
Then we got married a few years later. I actually was sick on the wedding day. And then Jay was sick on the honeymoon. So, so we had a bumpy start, but we got going. You wonder how we got to Indiana? Via Detroit, Michigan. I worked for EDS and I supported the General Motors account. And so then, Jay and I got married and I drug him up there and city life wasn't for him. And so I got a transfer down here to support Allison Transmission. And then I later began starting work for BC Forward at a large pharmaceutical company. in Indianapolis. And then Jay, you became an electrician.
Yep. After going to college for 7 years to get my 4-year degree,
In
Yeah.
biology.
right. Then I always liked working with my hands and doing stuff like that. So I went back and did an apprenticeship and got into a trade school and became an electrician. And then in '92, I started Avon Electric. And that's currently where I'm employed.
Yeah.
It's Avon Electric.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to share some pictures. So here's my family, side of the family with Jay on our wedding day. And then here's a little different size. Here was Jay's family. Oh yeah, notice.
That's my sister. There's 20 years difference between my sister and myself. There's just the two of us.
Yeah, there was a 18-year span in my family. So we've got siblings all around. So here's a picture of our daughters.
Probably our greatest achievement.
Yeah. Lee, Caitlin, and Madison. And here's our son-in-laws. This is Dan, and he goes with Lee, and then John goes with Caitlin.
And then our youngest one, Maddie, she goes to Purdue. She's just a freshman.
And then Lee, Caitlin, and Dan, they're in the medical field, and John works at North Salem State Bank in Danville.
Yep.
Oh, next up on the plate, I have our totem pole story.
This makes Karen feel good.
Okay, so this is from Caitlin when she was late elementary school, I think.
Caitlin's our artist.
So I was just going around the house looking for something. And so I'll hold it back here. And let me read the story. I'll have to read it sideways. Okay. The hawk is all family and friends looking over my family. The bear is my mom. She is the head of the house. My dad is the lion because he gets mad a lot. My sister is a snake because, well, ... She acts like one. I am a dog because I am the dog because I am, energetic. And then my younger sister is a rabbit because she is bravo and happy. And the blue is the sky. So I thought that was that was something I saw that we had around the house. That was a story about us. We currently live in Fillmore. We're selling a house in Avon.
Yep.
The joys of that, let me tell you.
Yeah, 30 years in the same house and trying to get that cleaned out. And it's just been a ongoing 1 year drama, probably.
Just, yeah, it's been about that long. Let's see. We have our story about how we ended up at Faith. We had been trying churches around. We actually visited St. Andrews, but there was a pastor hugging people on the way out, and we were just not, that was like, we're not that huggy first off, but anyway, and then we tried a church on the south side, but and they had a bell choir, which I played since I was in 8th grade prior to coming here. And I played it in Michigan. But then we went to Faith, and we heard the pastor was a golfer, and we were golfing at that time. And then we decided, Jay's family came to visit, and his grandmother. And she goes, vocal.
Well, we took her to church with us in Faith, and after the service, Pastor Vogel was telling, greeting people as they leave and that sort of thing. And my grandmother embarrassed me because as we were leaving, as she's shaking Joel Vogel's hand, she says to Joel, "Are you the Vogel that was the pastor in Madison, South Dakota?" And I mean, I could just about, feel the blood coming out of my face, because I was like, what are the odds of someone in Indianapolis being a pastor in Madison, South Dakota? And he said, well, yes, yes, I was that was his first calling. It was Missouri Senate at that time. And so I was just absolutely shocked and floored that he was a pastor in Madison, South Dakota, our small little town. And so then that kind of
I think we kind of looked at each other and go, okay, lightning doesn't need to strike.
well,
I think
and
we
then
get it. We're
as it
supposed to
turned
be
out,
here.
yeah, Joel was a big time golfer, loved golf, and so was Karen. Karen was a very good golfer and did very well. And so it was kind of meant to be, I guess, that way. So that's how we kind of got started at Faith, and that was back in what, 1990?
Yeah,
1990, yeah. So we've been there a while.
Yeah. Actually 89, but anyway.
89? Okay.
Yeah. So gifts we share at church. Jay's been the property manager for years. You do ushering and greeting, and yeah, actually your property managing days goes back to Michigan. It's a lot less snow to shovel here.
Yeah.
And people actually here I think are better. And then I'm in the choir. I've been a past president. I actually was the president when we sold the 7-Eleven South High School location and for the groundbreaking ceremony.
Yep.
And then I've done stewardship and I've been the secretary. Actually, yeah. Don Sinclair was on my stewardship team, and he was such a blessing. I mean, his thought on stewardship was give until it feels good.
Yeah.
You know, that was just a good quote from him. He was a blessing.
Yeah.
So was his wife, Ruth.
Yeah.
We both read the lessons and communion assistance for that.
I don't know how well we read them, but we try to.
Yeah, especially me making my faces in the last one.
That wasn't too
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, make it bigger font. That was pastor's clue.
We'll blame it on the font.
Right. Yeah. Activities we enjoy, hiking, boating, because we've got kayaks and paddle boats here at Fillmore. There's a 2-acre pond out here. So we enjoy that. We're both our daughters all 3 of our daughters were in soccer. And we enjoy football. And we already talked about golf. So I don't know.
We're enjoying being empty nesters. It's hard. I think it's hard for Karen to adjust because she's used to a little more activities, I guess, or action going on, living in the city or closer to the city. But with the pandemic, it's kind of worked out for us to be a little more isolated out here. But she's kind of compensated because I think Karen is feeding probably most of the birds in Putnam County now.
Yeah.
So she's
I know a lot of different kind of birds now because really Google helps that. So
she's an ornithologist now.
No.
Yeah. But so yeah, there's been some adjusting that way. But like Karen said to start with, I enjoy the country. I grew up. Well, we both grew up in a rural setting, but I enjoy it the most, I guess. So Karen has kind of relented and allowed us to move out here. So, and my shop is out here, and yeah, we really like her. I really like it. I think Karen tolerates it.
Yep.
And we're hoping for some grandkids. I'm hoping. I'd like to have some grandkids while I can still have fun with them.
Yeah, hopefully the kids won't see this then, because we don't need to put the pressure on them
exactly.
at all. No.
Exactly.
So
all we get is grand pets right now. So.
Yeah.
Normally we're a lot more fun than this, but I guess it's just the nervousness. The nervousness of this. This is my first ever. What would you call this?
Recording.
Zoom recording. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Greetings. This is Paula Cardoza-Jones. I'm a member of St. Andrews, and this is my husband, Rex Jones. Just by way of introduction, my dad was a long-time Lutheran. He comes from the old German Lutheran family of Jimson. family settled there. I know that was in the early, late 1500s probably. And they belonged to St. John Lutheran, which is a very similar to my dad joined the Marine Corps in 1931 during the Depression, and he retired after 30 years in 1961. My mom, the St. Louis girl, she grew up there. She was baptized as a Catholic, but mostly raised Baptist. She met my dad through some relatives of his that lived in St. Louis. They got married in 1949, and then they set off on a military adventure, moving, various places all over the country. I was born at Bethesda Naval Hospital in 1951, and I was baptized at St. John Lutheran in Vincennes on Christmas Day. The pastor of the church came to the family house to baptize me. This was in transit, going from one duty station to the next one for my dad, and that was pretty much the story of my growing up. After living in 6 different places from coast to coast, I moved back with my family to the Vincennes area, and we ended up on a farm outside the city. I was confirmed at St. John, same one that my dad and his relatives went to, in 1965. I attended Concordia Teachers College in River Forest, another Missouri Synod connection. I graduated there in 1973. I taught science at Minneapolis Lutheran High School for a year. Discovered that was not my calling. I enlisted in the Air Force in 1974 and stayed for 4 years. I served as an electronics technician, and when I got out, I used my VA benefits to attend law school at IU Wilmington. I worked for a federal judge in Chicago for a year and then moved to Indianapolis in 1983. Most of my legal career was spent working for various courts. I retired in 2017, and now I do volunteer work, mostly for the Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic and Indiana Legal Services. After moving to Indianapolis, I joined the Speedway Baptist Church. My brother and his wife were attending church there, and I became good friends with some of the people there. And we did for about 10 years. I'll tell you, it was really an interesting experience. I mean, I learned a lot of new traditions and songs that just weren't in the Missouri Synod hymnal, like Amazing Grace, Blessed Assurance, all those other songs that most of them might have made their way into the Lutheran hymnal by now. I returned to my Lutheran roots then and joined St. Andrews in 1994. I participated in things like the Bell Choir, Morning Psalm. I've been most active, though, in Friendship Bible Study, which was begun in 1998. Still going strong. It's a ministry for adults with mental disabilities. I have 2 sons, Joseph, or Joe, as most people know him, and Nathan. I've got a picture here somewhere showing, here it is. No, here's the one that will show them how you folks at St. Andrews probably remember them. Joe was a youth leader, a council member. He went to Purdue, got a degree there in electrical engineering technology, served as a Marine officer, reserve officer for 5 years. He is now a physics teacher at Ben Davis High School. Here's a more recent picture of Joe, just showing how much fun physics can be. My son Nathan now has a degree in machine tool technology from Ivy Tech, and he's a machinist at Cardinal Industries. Here's a fairly recent photo of him. You can see his Cardinal logo on his shirt there. My first husband, Ed, and I divorced amicably in 2008. In fact, it's so amicable that he lives across the street from me and we're good neighbors. I met Rex the next year in 2009. We were married at St. Andrews in 2012. Some of you at St. Andrews probably attended that service. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rex.
Thank you, Paula. Well, my background is somewhat different than Paula's. I was born in California, born and raised, in fact. And growing up, I wasn't a church person at all, though my mom was a devout Christian who attended church for most of her life until she couldn't. I just didn't have much to do with the church. But I was always seeking. I was always after something. I just didn't know what. Then I was drafted into the Army and served in Vietnam, and that experience was kind of a spur for me to intensify my search. I started asking questions about life and its meaning. Then in 1976, in an apartment in Brea, California, I had an epiphany, I guess you would say. Some evangelicals would call it a born-again experience. God entered my life. And after that, I started exploring churches. And the turning point was when my sister, who I was very close to, her husband died. And I started attending church with her at a Quaker church, Rose Drive Friends Church in Yorba Linda, California. And I became kind of enamored with the Quaker beliefs. And soon after that, I experienced a call into ministry. I received my BA degree from Azusa Pacific University, an evangelical college. And then I had to decide on a seminary. And I decided, well, there's only one Quaker seminary that I know of, and that's Earlham School of Religion in Richmond, Indiana. And so that brought me to Indiana, where I've lived a lot of my years now in life here in Indiana. I never thought I would live in Indiana, but here I am. So I went to Earlham School of Religion, at that time the only Quaker seminary in the country. And in my second year of seminary, a lot of things happened. I got called into the ministry, got called into to be a pastor of a church. And I also got married that year. And within a few years, I've had 2 children. And one of them is named Melissa, and the other is a boy named Nathan. Melissa is married now and living in North Carolina with her husband, Alex. And Nathan is attending San Jose State University remotely in this time, in these days, and working on his master's in library science. So that was an eventful year, was 1982. I graduated in 1985 and have been pastored Quaker churches in Indiana, California, and North Carolina. My first wife and I divorced amicably, like Paula and her first husband did. She's now lives in North Carolina. And I met Paula in 2009 after I came back to Indiana. And we met. People ask us all the time how we met, and we met online at eharmony.com. That's how we met. Otherwise, I don't think we would have ever met. So I am participating with Paula in the FBS program and enjoying that very much on Tuesday evenings. And I'm looking forward to, now that I'm retired, to looking for further ministry opportunities. So blessings on each one of you. Thank you for allowing us to share our stories.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening again, everybody. A story to tell. I hope and I pray that you have your copy. If not, why not? They are available at both churches. They could be mailed at your request. These are very small, very short devotionals available for you for each day during our Lenten journey, and we're doing them together in both congregations, and we're doing them in faith formation on Sunday evenings, and we're doing these on these Wednesday night worship services. Tonight we had a gospel story from Mark in chapter 2. Some scribes were questioning Jesus. Never a good idea, I guess, right? We don't want to question the Lord. And then we have this idea in the message that they've put aside for us tonight about this idea of beyond being nice. Christians are not necessarily just nice. We're nice because we love the Lord and we share, and we are caring, loving, and generous, says this devotional tonight. We're caring, loving, and generous people who don't go around upsetting other people with their actions, it says. That's our story for tonight, right? We do not follow images of what it's like to be a Christian. However, we follow Christ, who had no difficulty showing compassion to others, even when they found it offensive, loving all people despite their agitated ways, and being bold and humble all at once. And our devotional tonight means that we're also called to love in ways that offend. We're called to love the other, the person who's different from us, a different color. We're called to love those from another culture. God's call is to love. And who can you show love to in this Lenten journey that's unfolding? Who can you share your story with? Every one of us, friends, has a story. As I said earlier, look at this fancy help I have for you. Every one of us has a story. I can ask you, and I have, what is your story? When I've been doing home visits, I'll sit down with you and I say, what's your story? Tell me your story. In my introduction video way back when, I told you what my story was. And every single one of you, all of us, has a story. It's your own precious story, unique to you, and no one can take it away from you. A story is generally an account of past events. It's an account of past events. So we have our story that has unfolded to now, but what's going to happen tonight in our story? How will we influence through Christ our story tonight and in the coming weeks and months ahead? How will God impact our story in this Lenten journey? Friends, we are called to love one another, no matter race, color, creed, religion, etc. On the day of this recording, I was thrilled to get a call from Pastor Mark McClintock from Speedway Baptist Church about the Speedway Ministerial Association. I said to him, I'm readily available and I want to be open to work with the ministerium and to provide ministry to God's people in Speedway. And I'll be looking to do the same thing in Avon, where there is a ministerial group there or not. But I believe in that. I believe in the ministers coming together. I tried that and worked on it in my other cities, in Crawfordsville and in Brownsburg, and believe that's what God's call is for us. And Mark wanted to begin conversation about a Good Friday service that's been the tradition in the Speedway community. And we talked about that and what we might have to do virtually this year, etc. And so had a great conversation with him. I'm fired up for the ministerial group. Glad to get his call today. Mark is from the Baptist Church in a different sort of umbrella, more of a general Baptist, I believe, theme. And but I love that about him. And like I said, I've always been involved with the ministerial group, no matter where they're from. And you know, I asked him, I said, sometimes Baptists, in my experience, don't participate with the greater community of ministers. And he said that he had grown up in what's called an ecumenical belief. He attended Sunday school, and one of the things their teacher did was had them go to different churches to watch their worship services. I once went with the youth of another congregation to a Hebrew Jewish congregation to watch that service and witness it and experience it together. And this is what God calls us to do. You see, friends, God's story, and I know this may break your heart, this is not a Lutheran story, right? It's not just for us in the Lutheran church. It's for all of God's people, right? God's story unfolding in the pages of Scripture. This is a love story. This is a love story. It's our story. And our particular story wraps around this, or this wraps around us, even better. This wraps around us. And our story is interwoven with God's story in the Bible. So it's story time, and we're listening to stories from members of our two congregations. I hope you enjoyed that tonight. Each Wednesday night in Lent, as we go through March, our next one will be next week, March 3rd. We will do these on the 10th, the 17th, and the 24th, but we will not meet on March 31st because that is Holy Week, and that we will not meet on that Wednesday night. But the next 4 Wednesdays after tonight, we will do this same thing of listening to stories from people at each congregation, singing a Lenten hymn, and then all of these services, including tonight, are going to conclude with the hymn, I Love to Tell the Story. I love to tell the story of Jesus and his love. Amen. Enjoy it as performed by Ed Bailey from St. Andrews. He does a wonderful job of mixing and putting the hymns together in a rich format. Tonight, the theme is about story. I just wanted to introduce the whole story concept to you, to remind you that you have a story, I have a story, our stories intersect with God's story in Christ, and that's a beautiful thing. May your story continue to unfold in your Lenten journey, and I pray that God would enrich your walk with Christ. Amen.